Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode on Founders Tribe, a podcast production presented by thestartupchef.com. This is once again your host, Sven Milder, and like every week, I invite inspiring global movers and shakers to the show to casually chat about successful strategies they have deployed to found and build awesome businesses and live fulfilling lives. At the Startup Chef, we are on a mission to elevate and inspire 100,000 founders globally to help them shortcut their road to success by offering easy access to investment capital and world-class expertise. If you want to discover more or download one of our free resources that can help you propel your business forward, visit us at thestartupchef.com. Thestartupchef.com. With today, my good friend, Mr. Giacomo Ficari, co-founder of Lifepal, and perhaps even you know Giacomo as a professional water polo player playing in the Italian First Division and Junior National Team. This guy tells you today everything what you can learn from being a professional athlete and adapt those strategies as well, being an amazing founder. For those of you, he left banking in London in 2012 to join Rocket Internet to build Lazada. He has been working in the internet industry in Southeast Asia, from Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines, Singapore, Japan, and China. He participated in the Y Combinator program in the batch of 2018. And in 2019, he launched with his friends Lifepal.co.id, one of the leading online marketplaces when it comes to insurances, where he helps customers in choosing the right insurance to fit their needs. Without further ado, be ready for a lot of joy and inspiration how you can find product market fit. Let's just jump straight into it. First of all, very welcome to the show, Founders Tribe, where we invite the game changers, movers and shakers. In this case, most of them still from Asia, though we have some guests as well lined up from Europe and even as well from the US. So the primary goal is 100% to inspire the founders around, because we are all doing the hustle, right? And even right now in COVID times. So I'm very happy that you are today in the show. You bring a significant box with experiences. So 100% that we're going to talk about it. But before really jumping into that, I really found out today, actually, something that I didn't know. I always wondered, why is this guy has such an Adonis body, right? Because we have the same length, the same height, right? And then I saw okay, he's a professional polo player, so that's why.
That's right. Well, former, but after during high school actually, I started. It was a passion. When you do things well and it turned out you can be good at it. And yes, I play professional and for the junior national team as well.
Wow. So how did you land it up in doing that?
Sometimes you do things that you get passionate and then you keep improving yourself and then good things happen, right?
Yeah.
I think something was great is I never had too much pressure to be top, right? Just enjoy it and try to do your best. And then hopefully something comes. And then that's the magic that happens, right? When you just follow the passion and then you try to be as best as you can.
Yeah.
That's basically the story.
So is that also the reason why all of the Italian guys worldwide ask any woman worldwide, talk a little bit about the Italians, and they say, okay, these are the macho guys with the six packs, etc. Right? So is water polo more like a thing in Italy that gets early on in your youth already incorporated?
No, soccer is always the best one in Europe, right?
Of course.
Yeah. Water polo is more a tough game. It's more I always saw it as a masculine, like a rugby type of game.
Yeah.
And I know Australia and California is more like what you describe it, more like a surfer type. In Italy, it was more like a rugby, so hard training and a more like comrade masculine approach.
So you had the option to decide, right? AC Milan or becoming a professional polo player.
For the passion.
Yeah, definitely. So you're mentioning it's a hard game, right? So currently you're running your startups. You have quite an impressive career already after you. You were the CEO of Groupon. You have one of the first employees of Lazada. You have been in the Y Combinator batch. The place where we met was that you were a venture partner at ATM Capital, currently on a new journey as a CEO of Lifepal. I just like to know, right? Because in life we're getting better and better, and especially when we are very young, we really see that larger image from ourselves where we want to be. But actually, it's just like the more we progress through life, the more we learn and the better we excel. So, how did your water polo, right, and your professional career, which is not for pussies, so it really gets you going, right? So how does that still play a role in the way you're running your businesses currently, or the way you have developed your career?
No, I think for me, sport was a key pillar, and mainly there is one value: is the motivation and the drive. And there are lots of studies that say, like, where do we find a similar motivation of athletes in the world? And these are really few cases. That's why in US, lots of people like to hire people that have been former athletes. I think you can find in other experience, not necessarily you need to be an athlete, military or some personal journey that people go through that also help. But the motivation and the drive is something that I have intrinsic inside. And also when I try to hire people or have co-founders, have a partner inside the company, we always look for this drive, this motivation. So what is driving you to join us, right? What is driving you? And that's why your recruiting process needs to really based on this motivation. Because once you have the motivation, you as a leader can also use it later. So you know how to leverage the person.
Absolutely.
So I always try to see what motivates the person that we are hiring in our startups.
Yeah.
Is it the money, or is the glory, is the fame, or and what I like to find is, are you a person that is motivated by improving yourself, by learning, by getting better, whatever, maximizing your potential? And we try to hire those people that want to maximize their potential.
What's very interesting is I was listening to Anthony Robbins. You know, I like to run in the morning and I put the audiobook on Anthony Robbins, and he was referring to Michael Jordan and why Michael Jordan has always been so super aggressive when it comes to being extremely determined in crushing his goals. And he said, like, okay, I don't want to compete with someone else. I want to compete with my best self, right?
That's right.
So it's an interesting thing, and it's funny that you're saying that you're taking these the whys, these purposes, all in your selection procedure for new hires, right? So can you walk me a little bit through, like, okay, how your hiring process looks like? Are you taking advantages of personality tests? Because people can play a very interesting, have a very interesting appearance, but not everybody, if they want a job very badly, will say 100% how they are. So do you use something like personality tests to find out if the match is really great, or how is your decision making in that sense?
Yeah, there's a lot of approaches. I try not to make it overcomplicated. Otherwise, it gets like a complex consulting metrics with points, and then you never finish. We try to keep it as real as possible, as friendly as human, because you're working with the person, right? What we try to do in general, we try to find the red flags. So if after a few interviews, we find that the person has some red flag that we think are not gonna fit in the startup, and then we highlight that. Usually the fit that we are trying is the person having a startup fit? Is he fitting with the, well, if he's a foreigner, if he's not from here, like, is he fitting with emerging markets? That's something we realize. People being successful in California doesn't mean Silicon Valley they're going to be successful in Vietnam, right?
No.
Or Indonesia. And then lastly, like, the motivation. What is really driving the person? Like, we need to understand that, because you need to understand how to then make the person over time, like, grow, and how can you lever the person? Is it just money? Yeah, many people just money, and that's, I mean, salespeople usually is money, but we look in something more, right? And then the personal development is one, and helping others, like how tech can help others, should be also another one. So we're trying to do red flags and the motivation part. And then we always have a bar raiser. Bar raiser is like what is used by Amazon, that is a person that is from a different department that does not have the time pressure to fill the position quickly, and they can fall in that mistake in the time pressure. So something from a different department, senior, so should be a co-founder or a person like you. To be a bar raiser, you need to be someone you trust.
Yeah.
can the person objectively really check without the time pressure? Because often we hire, if you like your manager, you are running behind target and the pressure is high and you have one key person to hire, you will hire first decent one that you find, but you're not necessarily hiring the right one for the role.
Yeah. So when you started up Lifepal, how many people were you required to hire in high speed?
Yeah, so Rocket Internet always force you to hire quickly, right? So
Yeah.
when I joined Malaysia, the first point from Oliver Somewhere, the management of Rocket, was you need to hire 300 people in 1 month, right? And but then when you go to Y Combinator, you actually have the opposite. They really say don't throw people to problems.
Exactly. Yeah.
For technology, right? Try to automate, try to understand how can we grow without hiring. And I think depends on the stage of the company in reality. If you're pre-product market fit, you definitely should not hire.
No.
Don't hire, like understand what you're doing, right? Because if you don't know what you're doing with 2 people, you can, or three people, you can actually move quite quickly. If you have 300 and you still don't know what you're doing, it's quite hard to really manage all the mess that you've created. So really stay as lean as possible before product market fit. When you are on the next stage, and I mean, product market fit is never 100% clear. Sometimes it takes some time, but when you feel you really understood what customer want, then it's point to raise the money, to inject and start hiring. But I see many startups that raise the money because the founder is a great leader. They can really tell the story. But then there's no product market fit, and investors haven't really checked that. And then you start hiring, and then you're burning millions of dollars in something that, and back you say, oh shit, we overhire, we spend in the wrong things. So really get the clarity of where you need to hire. When you have the clarity and you have product market fit, then yeah, you should.
Interesting point. So I was talking with Jacob about this. Yeah. So what is really funny, and I see it almost going back to the water polo, right? I mean, it's eventually a startup is really like a team effort, and where we're all working together and putting the right people in the right place. But currently, what is very interesting is that due to all of the COVID developments that are happening around us, where we previously were very limited to hire only in our almost city, right, or strictly in geography, and because remote working is the new norm in this sense, I mean, it allows us as well to hire excellent talent for sometimes competitive pricing from other areas, as long as the time zones are very matching, right? So I'm very curious, and I'm asking this as a returning question. So how does your current remote strategy looks like? And because we're talking about hiring, do you hire people that are not from Indonesia? Or you're planning to hire people that are not from Indonesia? Because now you have this, this pond and you can fish whatever you want, rather than competing with all of the other big bank startups in Indonesia.
So I think remote work is quite dangerous, from my opinion, because you don't really feel the pulse, the temperature of your team motivation. And you don't understand if are they aligned on the vision and they're aligned on even the to-dos that they have to do. So I know it sounds great that the team can be global, can be allocated multi-location. Some company can do easily, especially if you are software, lots of engineer or digital marketing. That could be easier, but you never need to lose the pulse and of the motivation of your team and the alignment. And I think 100% in remote for me as well, from my way of managing, is going to be really hard. It should be at least twice a week in the office. It can be a Monday or Friday. But really, you want to have this emotional contact, right? Transfer the energy, the motivation, see how the person is doing. I mean, we are humans. We like to interact with people, and that will never go away. So I think half remote could work well for us, and that's what we are doing. Full remote, I see more downside than benefits.
So how have you been dealing in the last months? Because you were forced to think differently about the company and forced to bring certain playbooks into play, right? And people could not really go to the office, especially in Jakarta, where there's more like a partly lockdown. So what were your strategies that have been working very well that you can share a little bit more to our audience about, like, okay, if you want to do this worked well for me, go get it, right?
So the first one, we are not fully remote. So we do twice a week. Each team comes twice a week. And I think that's it work well. 3 will be ideal, but 2 is also okay. So I will suggest to do that. Second, we need to keep your conversation always open. Our tech team has a software I can like it's kind of like a Zoom 24-hour, and all the team is all live on the desktop, and then so they are always connected over if it was in the same room. What worked well is the leaders need to be really careful on communications. What are the targets? What are the strategy? Mm-hmm. And so we are started having more one-on-ones, more casual also, more formal, business review, more professionally done. And I think that's enough. I'm less concerned about the business performance, about the number, the clarity on the targets. I'm more of, are your team engaged? Are they losing motivation? Are they don't agree on the strategy they need to execute on? But you don't feel that because you don't meet them.
And so currently you're saying like, okay, it's more like 2 times per week would be a great moment to just have that physical check-in. How do you see the world of office spacing changing, right? I mean, it's very funny. I was talking with another guest, and they are in the business from co-working. And then one of the clients came to them like, okay, you know, how big is your team? 70. How many co-working spaces do you want? Places to sit? Only 3 seats, right? So it's very interesting. So assuming that you currently still have the office, do you see that the function of your office with 2 times per week gets more like a bonding experience with some separate rooms, or how will that look like, right?
Yeah, the office will get smaller and will be more for town halls. Maybe we can use, I mean, now we cannot really go to restaurants, but you can use those more offline also occasion to socialize. Yeah, we just get smaller. People will live maybe outside the city with bigger houses. And they use public transportation like twice a week. So even if it's an hour and a half each time, but for twice a week is fine. I feel this will apply for many countries. US especially, and I mean Japan they're already used to, right, living really outside the city with great transportation, and probably you can live even further. So probably cost in the downtown will get lower, will get cheaper, and people will move out and come twice a week.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more, because you have been active indeed in Japan, you have been active in Malaysia, you have been active in Jakarta. Your wife is from China. I mean, you're an Asian guru in that sense. So what are the main takeaways for you from working in all of these different countries, and why did you choose Jakarta as your home base?
I didn't want to collect all those countries, by the way. It just I follow the opportunities and what happened. Simply as an entrepreneur, you look like the first question when you launch a business is the master one, is the key one, is how big is the market? And that's defined the entire decision-making process you do when you choose a business. And of course, Indonesia is the biggest market by size for many reasons, but also by percentage growth. So it was really directed to that. Secondly, I work here personally and I like it. I have lots of friends and I like the culture, I like the people. So that was also a plus. But mainly was driven is where is the biggest market and where is the fastest growth. That was as simple as that.
I think there's no city in the world that has it actually all, right? It has the richness, it has the super friendliness, it has decadence, it has poverty, it has a rough edge here and there. Combine it with super friendly people, right? Everybody is always ready to give you a helping hand. And taking into account that it's one of the largest economies in Southeast Asia, or the largest economy, at least in terms of citizens, yeah, it's a great way ahead. So when you started Lifepal, right? I mean, you knew that there were already some competition in the place where, I mean, we have the Czech Adjas of this world, right? I mean, what made you decide eventually with your co-founders, like, okay, though there's the competition, we're still going to pursue this opportunity? And what was the real thing for you that you can think like, okay, I'm going to take this battle on?
It was mainly like talking to customer and the market, those two things. So we realized that the market is big and is big for lots of players. And the problem was really clear from the consumer side. And we didn't probably overthink too much on competition, because in general, like no startups die because competition. Startup died because they finished the money, found the dispute, they didn't find product market fit. So we were not too concerned about competition. And we realized the market is big. The problem is really something we are passionate, and in this market was big. But that was the first thought. In terms of competition, we thought the other players, like you mentioned one, Chekaja, yeah, they were doing things a little bit different with a different focus, and we thought that was not how things should have been done. So we had a different view of how the solution should be, and then we were convinced of our approach, and that's nothing like stop us to then do it. You know, you will always have competition, right? And to be honest, if you tell a person from China about competition and you show him Indonesia, there will not be competition for that person.
No.
They have 200-300 players competing. Probably we have 1 or 2 or 3. That's not competition.
Yeah. So, but still, when you entered the market, right? Are you saying typically that your customer discoveries has provided you significant insights that you found the back door, or what was your? And I think this is more like a broader question, which can be very inspiring for a larger audience. What was your playbook actually in steps in the first 12 months when you launched this? I mean, you knew that there were competition. There's still a larger market. I mean, 270 million people. What was your playbook in the first 12 months to still get that massive traction going?
So to be honest, the first year, I mean, once we got together in a room with 3-4 people, and then we started we didn't hire much for a quarter. We launched after 3 months. So the first 9 months, I think we didn't scale much. This startup that is growing, it was not about us. That's why we didn't do any press. We were just heads down working, and we were really focusing on the customer. And we didn't spend much. We had lots of money, or relatively decent money, but we didn't spend them as much. We were keeping the money on the bank, and we were getting some interest. And there was a better utilization than start spending paid marketing over hiring. We needed to understand the customer. So we really focus on product market fit. I feel we are much closer today, but it's really ambitious to say we got full product market fit, because you're always improving, iterating there. The cycle is really simple. You need to talk to as much as customer that you can talk to. And then you need to iterate, find really what are the pain points, what the customer want, not what the founder wants. Then you need to go back to your tech team and product team and really iterate and readjust the code, ship code. So it's really a cycle of talking to customer, and this iterating, maybe verify with data as well, because sometimes customer, you talk to them, they also don't know 100%. Check the data, go to tech, ship code, and iterate over and over. It's really stressful because you are expected to grow from day one, right? Oh, now you're a startup, so fly like a unicorn, and I see you when you do IPO, right? But in reality, it's definitely not like this. It's more, once you're starting, you really need to spend time with your customer, be humble and assume that you know zero, and you build based on the customer feedback. And I see many startups in Southeast Asia not doing that, and that's really penalize them in Series B, when they cannot raise the dream, the valuation that they wish, and the money that they need, because they haven't really done the hard things at first. They really focus on product market fit. They raise money, they pump paid marketing, and then customers don't really want what you are selling.
So what are your go-to strategy to do your customer discovery surveys, chats, right? I mean, what are the things that have always been working very well for you to really discover what it is that the customer wants?
Yeah. So how do we structure the process to achieve product market fit? I think for other founders listening or people that are thinking to launch, the superhuman approach, the startup superhuman, they approach to product market fit. There are lots of video online. I think it's really solid, and it's really solid. I think everyone should look at that.
Superhuman.
Y Combinator has a lots of narrative about that as well, and that's what the program is all about. Yeah, so when you talk to customer, you really need to ask the question, like, what's your pain point? And you need to collect those data points. And then from there, you start your journey of drilling down what seems relevant and backing it with the data. Customer only, sometimes customer tell you one specific thing that must maybe not relevant, it's just their own passion. So you need to really be mature enough to judge. And a part of this maturity comes from data. So you need to back up from data. There are tools like Full Story to let you see what customer really click on your customer by customer.
What was the name of the tool?
Full Story.
Oh, Full Story, yeah.
There are others similar, but that's a good one. And really back when Google Analytics or a few others are really good to check the data. So talk to customer, back it up with the data, And then when you find what you need to explore, you can the ship code, a small MVP, you get the data and the feedback again, and you keep improving and improving. Unfortunately, you cannot say it's a 6-month process. Some company takes 2-3 years. Some company maybe have a more straightforward and it's short. Rocket Internet doesn't do that. It's skipped, right? They say product market fit. I just copy what someone else who already got product market fit. So the hard work, I really skip it. The real hard work, I skip it. And I go for something that is certain to be working. And I just go to the scaling stage, the second stage.
Yeah.
Of course, e-commerce in Indonesia, I mean, that was a no-brainer, right? For sure, there was the product market fit, didn't need investigation. That was pretty clear. When you offer lots of selection at really affordable prices, then people do buy because they buy offline already. When you do something more SaaS-based, maybe something more specific, something like Superhuman, it was something really specific. How do you innovate? Do you change the entire email experience? You really need to talk to customer a lot. So it's really about talking to customer, back up the data, and then adjust your code quickly. So you need a product team that can ship maybe on a weekly sprint rather than monthly or quarterly.
And this was something that you do in the first 6 months where you're more like in stealth mode, where you just were referring to?
Yeah, that's right. I don't call it stealth mode. I call them your life.
Yeah.
Your customer. And but you know, startup, there is like a case of premature death of startups. When startup raised the funding, maybe because the founder had connection, had a leadership, has a track record, but then you don't understand your product market fit, and you force yourself to grow and to burn the money, but you're burning then something that doesn't work.
Yeah.
So you're just not going to go anywhere.
No, it's very interesting that you're saying, because eventually it all comes back again to some human psychology, is that we want to jump straight in doing and fixing the problem rather than taking a few steps back and really observing what is going on, right? I mean, spending the money, building teams is relatively easy, right? I mean, what's very annoying if nobody really starts converting on your website. And I think just to have a small chat about that as well, if the startup really considers like, okay, I'm going to double down on my customer discovery, I think that's one of the best investments every founder can make, for the simple reason also that your customer acquisition costs will get significantly lower later on, because you know exactly what they want to hear, they resonate, everything what you put out there online or your ads, it resonates more. While otherwise you just need to start figuring it out, right? And like you say, raising a B round and then still not having figured it out, that's of course a big problem, which eventually can become very deadly.
And I think there is not much education on that in Southeast Asia. It's more maybe Silicon Valley. Also, Southeast Asia is a fresher market, it's a newer market, right, for investors and founders. And we try to kind of replicate the Rocket Internet or Chinese model. Well, the Chinese do both at the same time, I think. But we never need to, investor also should really have the patience to understand in which stage they're investing. And if it's really early, then they should really let the founder focus on product market fit, because there's a lots of cases of startup dying for premature growth, where you don't know what you're selling and it's completely wrong product, and you pump paid marketing money. Like growing by paid marketing not necessarily is a product market fit, it's a sign of product market fit.
Yeah, and especially also if you're more like in a local market, right? I mean, because I dare to say that sometimes you can use paid marketing when you have a global product. There's always a customer out there, and especially if you use Facebook in the right way, there's always someone who wants to pay for it. But if you're more like locally orientated, like you guys in Jakarta, and you have this competition already around you, then you want to be sure that you're doing things in that sense the smart way. So what do you think is the significant amount of clients or customers that you should have insights from to make your decisions? I mean, what is the critical mass here?
I don't think there is a critical mass. I think that there is a sentence from YC that say it's better to have fewer customers that really, really love you than a lot of the sort of like you. So it's better you test, and every founder tests on a smaller scale, but really ensure that these 200, 300 or 2,000 customers really love our product. They're really crazy. They're referral. They use it every day. They are sticky. So I will really look at those metrics. Like that, of course, it should be more than 100 customers, and probably you're not going to get to 1 million or yet. But in that range, like are the metrics showing us that customer are sticky? For some people can be DAU, MAU. There are several metrics to look at it, but are there really people liking our product? What is the maybe survey after they purchase, and what is the behavior before they purchase? And so that's really important. So let's don't focus on getting a lot of customers. I think we should focus at the beginning to get less customers that really love your product, rather than many that kind of like you, but they're not really passionate about it. There's always time for scale, right? There's always time for scale. It's never scale. It's like you pump the money, you have a good team. Okay, recruiting, there's lots of problems with scaling, but it's feasible. Finding product market fit is really the hard things, the exception.
Yeah. But so should we split product market fit then in two phases? Really, like, okay, you have of course your discovery calls of course you have already launched, but pre-product, and once it's out there, right? I mean, how do you see that? I mean, there's actually two kinds, right? There's the one that you're looking for the client, picking up the potential functionalities and the pains and build your product around that. And then you have the moment like, okay, the product is already there and you're looking for, so what you're actually saying is like, okay, it's a constant funnel, right? So we're throwing a lot of people on the top of the funnel, keep on doing the discoveries, and then you constantly will inform your tech team to make these decisions.
Yeah, we could do that. We can split into the part where the founding team start having survey, talking to customer, even without a product, and kind of start designing and thinking what the solution is to the problem based on the customer again, not on the founder. And then later they can go live with an MVP, and then they can start iterating with the code, right? And that's why it's really important for a founder to really have a technical co-founder, because the guy can really ship code overnight. You talk to customer at 6 p.m. with a customer, then your co-founder will start coding, and maybe at 6 a.m. he's done, and you can talk to the customer. Right?
So taking into account that he has not take any sleep, and he just go full force.
Yeah. But you know, when you're passionate, you're like, oh, let me like fix it, so tomorrow we can test again to the next customer, and we can see what really think about it. Yeah. And then you get some customer that become your friends, and I think it was Tokopedia, they said there was a hungry customer, then start becoming friends and providing feedback, and then the guy started joining the company because the customer also became so passionate about it. Right? Yeah. And so it should be like this way. First, like really understand what you're doing, and then highlights, design on paper what you guys want, go live. And I think it's really important, and we know that, right? Go live as soon as possible. There's a sentence like, if you go live and you're proud of your product, then you launch too late, right? You should go live, you feel ashamed because you know what a good product is, but you just want to go live to hear the customer feedback, the user feedback.
And for you guys, it's of course, you're not like a daily consumption product, right? So how do you deal with that? Because if you are, for example, indeed like an Uber, I think reaching that product market fit seems a bit easier in some kind of way. Why? Because people are using you on a daily basis. And one of the things that you mentioned as well in our other chat is that the reason that you jumped into insurances is that there's still a topic that has not been addressed properly by the market. It's a topic that is not 100% on top of mind. So how do you deal then knowing that people don't know actually that they want it, right? And once they want it, it's a one-time transaction with you guys, and then they are covered until the shit hits the fan. May I summarize it like that?
Yeah. Honestly, insurance is the worst product for product market fit. It's a push product.
Yeah.
Talk to people from the industry, specifically to insurance, they will say insurance is sold, is not bought. That means customer don't wake up, and it's true. No customer wake up in the morning and saying, today I feel like a new life insurance, or this new model of life insurance is really appealing to me. Then maybe you think about, how we gonna go to holiday, which restaurant you wanna test with your friend, where to hang out for the weekend. But definitely it's not insurance. So it's a push product. Second, is not daily usage. It's complicated and it's pretty hell expensive, right? So we actually hit against the wall of the product market fit in the insurance industry. Yeah, it's much harder than what we thought. We identify a few things that we think are relevant, but as often you don't get product market fit 100% in one shot. Except a few cases, you probably take some way you get to a degree of decent product market fit that you can operate. you keep improving on that. Insurance is a tough one.
Because I mean, while you were saying this, and I'm sure we have all watched this movie, the Wolf of Wall Street, right?
Yeah,
And then Leonardo DiCaprio sitting there and with his friends, and he need to sell the pen, right?
yeah,
And everybody doing it in the wrong way. And of course the other guy's like, okay, hey, sell me the pen, man. And then he's like, okay, can you write me down your name? And therefore you need a pen. So how I see it almost in your case, people don't know that they want to have an insurance until the shit hits the fan again, right?
you see the
So
accident happen. Yeah,
you have not lived in Thailand yet, if I'm not mistaken. But what's very good about the Thai, if they have any kind of advertising, there is always so much drama and problems in the advertising. So then, after watching that ad, which is almost like a small little story of 3 minutes, it's very logical to sell the insurance because people feel so bad about it and they need it.
yeah, yeah.
Now, how do you do that in Indonesia? That's my question for you. Right? How do you make that shift from, yeah, I know it's important to have an insurance to, shit, fuck, I need one, right? And
Yeah.
What is your strategy in this? You're
Yeah.
indeed in a difficult playground. Respect.
Yeah, insurance, like about product market fit, is tougher than what I thought and tougher than other models. As you said, an Uber or a Go delivery or like a food delivery, probably easier. But I think every company face challenge in product market fit, and that's one of the biggest challenges. Going back to us, we actually talked to user a lot, and we realized there were three problems. And the first one is the insurance agent has created a lot of mistrust, and they're pretty hated. I personally like to call them the drug dealers.
Yeah.
They sell you something at a high margin that is not good for your health.
Yeah.
My co-founders don't like this, or you want to attack the agents, so let's don't be so disruptive. Let's be more cooperative. Probably they are right, but we realize that no one trusts the agent. So there's a problem of trust of information, of content, of policy review that you can trust. So we try to address the point. Second was, we realized that when you meet an agent in Indonesia, the agent works for one company specifically, therefore can sell you only one brand. But is this brand really the best for you? Or maybe you should go to another brand. So for us was selection. How do we build the largest selection in the country of policy brands so you can really find what is right for you? And the third one was the convenience pre and post sales. We realized there's lots of paperwork, lots of money is a problem, and also post sales, right? How do you handle when there's an emergency, talking to the hospital, if it's health insurance, processing the claim? So this convenience pre and post sales. So we try to have this. We are solving these three problems. So how do we get the right trust from proper information, policy review, they are objective, larger selection of policy in the market, and convenience. That's why we build a lot of a large portfolio of policy reviews, of videos, and our social media follower and visitor have been growing consequently. So people that really come to us is people that have an intent because they were searching on Google or searching on social media, and then they try to really understand deeper from a person that they can trust. That's why our name Lifepal, because we are really your friend for your life, right? And you can trust. So we can help you to make the right choice. Yeah. And it starts really from this content and reviews that we really spend a lot of time on.
Especially point number 3, I think it's very important. I had like a very unlucky month 3 months ago. One, I had literally a problem with my finger, cannot move it in because I had glass in my finger. COVID time, all hospitals were full. I said like, okay, what I'm going to do? I'm going to fix it or get COVID, right? I said, okay, I'm not going to do anything. Second was I had like a motorcycle accident. And then you're going here to the hospitals and you need to pay everything up front, right? There's no easy card that you can use, arrange. It's very inconvenient. So that's a pain from the expat point of view. What I have always been wondering, and maybe I just would like to throw that back to you, is like, why is there no insurance product integrated in your phone? And what I mean, we have so much data, right? And the prices are always the same. Why is not that I can say, for example, like, okay, I have a phone. Google recognizes that I'm currently traveling more than 40 kilometers per hour. I assume I'm sitting on a motorbike, so I have more risk. Or, hey, I'm doing 10,000 steps a day, which assumes that I'm actually in a better shape, right? Or due to the locations where I am, this is a risk location, this is a de-risk location. Or the amount of time that I'm spending on social media platforms, or the amount of time that I'm spending on reading my Kindle or going to knowledgeable blogs, right? I believe that there's so much opportunity actually to check the health, the mental health, but also automatically the physical health through something that we have always there. And how do you see the future of insurance evolving over time? I mean, do you resonate what I'm saying?
Yeah, so you're saying to have a pricing model based on your lifestyle data that
Correct.
we can collect. It will get there. It will get there, and we do see some trends in US where new tech startup in insurance are innovating on policy design and policy creation, the underwriting, and less on distribution. I think in our region we are really just at the beginning, so we need to fix the distribution, the interface with the customer, and once that will be fixed, hopefully in 3, 4, 5 years, then we probably go and innovate more in the other part of the chain, of the value chain, and probably we will end up later innovating in underwriting in the pricing model. In US, you have this kind of maybe they call it dynamic pricing. For example, you drive your car and you only pay insurance when you drive it. If you don't drive it, you don't pay. If it's a home like park, or then you see your driving style, and if the data say you're like a conservative and proper driver, then the pricing goes lower. If you're more an aggressive driver, then the pricing goes up. So it's starting. I see this innovation will be more from US, not Indonesia.
Yeah. So that brings me back to the question of timing, right? So let's say you would have the whole technology stack of that insurance partner from the US inside of your data warehouse, and you would launch something like this. How important is the timing, right? I mean, would this work right now already in the current industry? Or do you see like, okay, no, we first need to have the distribution there, the knowledge needs to be grown, people need to know that it's important for them. And how important is then timing in the launch of a startup in this sense?
No, timing is definitely important to know that your customer want what you're building, right? Or maybe it goes back. Once you talk to customer, you understand what they want and you build that, right? So it's not you imposing your own product on the customer. When can we have this dynamic pricing in Indonesia? So we are not underwriter in Lifepal. We are the distributor. So we are trying to replace the existing agent and make it better, more trustworthy. So we are not in underwriting. So we need to talk to people who are underwriting. So who's underwriting now in Indonesia is the major brand like AXA, Prudential, etc. I don't think they have the interest, and that is not on the agenda yet. It's something new even for HQ. So something new even for US or China. So I don't think we'll come here, but not because the customer are not ready. I feel because the industry is actually not ready to get there.
Yeah.
The only reason why I will see coming, for example, this automotive hardware to track your driving behavior, I think it's a matter of pricing. So if you can price it low and your pricing to consumer can be cheaper, then you can definitely succeed in that.
I see that
insurance in Indonesia is highly price driven and brand driven as well.
It's funny, man. Just imagine you're sitting in your car, right? And you start driving and there's a pop-up message on your phone and it says like, okay, are you the one that is driving? Because it recognizes, the Google recognizes that you're going fast. And you say yes, right? And then suddenly you're hitting this in the middle of the night, 170 kilometers per hour, and you have this pop-up from your insurance company that says like, yeah, sorry, dude, you're now not insured anymore, right? I mean,
that's the way it will be actually, and it probably is you're gonna have probably a sensor tracking your physical activity. I know your temperature now for COVID, and then this will get in a centralized loop. I believe that is not this problem we are solving. We are more of let's help the customer to buy the right policy because there are so many in the market, but there's no transparency. Let's help them to have a centralized application where they can store the life, the auto, the travel, and they can manage post-sales with convenience and full assistance. So your best friend, your concierge, your best friend to really manage your Lifepal, to really manage that. Innovating on policy design, I think is exciting, but it's more valuable for a mature market like the US, China, maybe Europe. And that's where this type of innovation is actually happening.
Cool. Well, it's nice that we are moving from the questions in this conversation. I want to go one step back, where I ask you, like, okay, what was your playbook in the first 12 months? Okay, the customer, the customer discovery, reaching the product market fit. What were the things that you believe have worked very well that you suddenly saw, like, okay, this is currently spiking, right? One of the things that worked very well for you, that you think, like, okay, I want to share some wise words and wisdom about it.
We got a couple moments where we spiked. We went like month on month, 3x or 4x month on month, and then we went back to like a 20% or even 10. That's when our learning spiked. I really see growth as a function of learning. So the question is, are you growing fast? Are you learning fast? And how do you learn fast? That is talking to customer and testing a lot. I'm always obsessed in our company, and some of my partners complain. I always want to test a lot and quickly to really get feedback quick, but by data, by customer. So the things that really make us grow is when we start testing a lot, we accumulate so much learning, so much like dry powder that it was not exploding yet, but then at one moment all got together, all the dots connected. So that's where I think we should be obsessed. Like if every week we are not learning something significantly new, then we are in trouble, because growth, that's an indication of growth maybe in a couple of weeks or in a couple of months. So I say nothing really special, but it's about talking to customer, testing a lot and frequently, and really collect those data. I always like to make this example, like a corporate test, maybe once a year, twice a year. They need to do board meeting, PPT, lots of approvals, yearly review, and then maybe they test things twice in a year. What if a startup can test things twice in a week? You're like 100x older. You should measure your age by how many tests you run per year, not how old is a company.
Yeah, and then also how agile is your development team to quickly.
The question is like, oh, you've been 2 years in this now. I've been 200 tests.
Yeah.
That's the right question, because you understand really how, and that's where the learnings come. I don't think there is a framework you can like cascade top down. Beside talking to customer, looking at the data, shipping code, and testing, having a lot of tests to really improve the problem. And then things will come, because you basically walking on the dark, and you hit and you destroy things, and then you get closer to the door, but from the dark. And you need to just go quickly and test until you find the door, and you can move to the next level.
That's a little bit the annoying part if you are very big and become arrogant, right? And you think, oh, we're the biggest right now, and we don't need to do anything, and people start becoming lazy, right? The money is flowing, and before you know, I mean, we have seen that disruptions as well with Warner Bros. And Netflix, and there's many different kind of examples there. So I agree with you. It's like testing constantly and learning more and more and more is definitely the key. Bringing that back, like, I mean, I just want to ask you, are you a spiritual person in that sense that you reflect a lot on yourself, on life, and how you run your business?
I have this inclination, but lately I have neglected that part. And it's not good for your person and for your business. Now we are a bit more stable. We are hiring more great people, and I will have a bit more time. And that's actually what I think any leader should always do, right? At personal level, but also business level. Like really be able to get the clarity out of where you stand, what you guys are doing. I think that's really important. I do sometimes, lately not, and it's not good.
But how do you still give time to your spiritual side as a leader?
The reality is that, I mean, we spiritually, as a leader, you mean the vision of the company, I guess.
No, it's also on a personal level, right? I think being a leader of a company, requires you to really regularly do check-ins with yourself and find the peace, right? I mean, sometimes it's also, at least it's my point of view, the more you work, the more you don't see. The less you work and spend time on designing your business and really taking the position of a third person that looks down, allows you to really see I mean,
So true.
where do you get your best ideas? In the office or outside?
Yeah, it's a good question. I was actually like, I think I wrote it here. Like, yeah, I was actually thinking about this a few days ago. I phrased it a bit different. Like, how do I reinvigorate my mind, right? Because the real stress and tiredness doesn't come from your body. That's the body. We can push it as human, but how you keep your mind in shape, right? Healthy and rejuvenate, reinvigorate. So for me, I was listing down actually a few days ago was I realized that reading daily is really important for me, and any type of reading, but it set your energy level, is set of your brain and your body. I think that's fantastic. Something we all know, but we don't do as regularly. Doing sport, definitely. I realized that yoga is something amazing that we all kind of reject, or at least I rejected in the younger age.
You're doing it right now?
I'm looking to start. I did it for 6 months and I want to start again.
Yeah. What's holding you?
Sorry?
What's holding you?
Not nothing. I need to do it. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
One of our engineers said to add the meditation. He does
Yeah.
it. He a great guy, and I want to maybe try that as well. I realized for me specifically walking also. I love them walking. You go around walking. It can be having phone calls while you're walking, or having meetings while walking, or walk by yourself.
Yeah.
Keeps your body moving in a soft way, in a delicate way, but keeps your brain also moving as well.
Yeah.
So that's the fourth
thing.
So
So we have walking, we have reading, we have doing yoga. And what was the fourth thing?
The sport, yoga, sport. If you think necessary. That is for me. Other people have others, but
no, I think. I mean, I personally resonate with that as well. So do you keep some kind of morning rituals? I mean, I know that you're running with Ilya around the blocks, right? So do you keep some morning rituals for yourself to keep yourself safe?
I do. In addition to the good coffee, there is reading and sports, and probably need to put one in the morning, one at night. Reading at night, I think, is really great.
So I see some books. I see some books on your shelf. I mean, are those your book, yours book, or for your wife?
No, that's mine.
What are you reading?
So I like to read biographies. The one I suggest to everyone is Deng Xiaoping, the great leader of China after Mao.
Yeah.
I think that's a great for entrepreneurs. I like them because it shows how to change the vision of a country in that case, without being revolutionary, but being evolutionary. So Mao had a vision. He had more other to openness around the economy, and he changed it without being a disruptor, without breaking with the past. Just continue a stable flow evolution. And startup sometimes is this, right? You want to make the evolution of the company. And second, I like his pragmatism. He's a person that said a famous sentence like, doesn't matter if the cat is black or white, it's important that he catch the mouse. So it doesn't matter if you are, in this case was like, is a capitalism or communism, it doesn't matter. It matters we just make our country more prosperous and we help our people. Yeah. And that's founder sometimes needs to be like this. Like, it doesn't matter, it's I like it or you like it, matter what customer like, what is good for the business. Mm-hmm. That's what we should focus. So yeah, Deng Xiaoping is a great book, biography. I'm reading also about history biography I like a lot. And then of course, startup books. It's always great essay also about startups. They are fantastic.
Well, I think it's nicer to read startup books in the morning or business books in the morning, and keep the novels or the biographies for in the night, because otherwise you're completely fucking yourself up. Yeah.
You're not gonna sleep.
Yeah. So I don't see the hard things of the hard things currently in your.
No, here we don't have it.
But everybody reads it, right? So for everybody who is currently listening to the show, I mean, there's a red thread, is that everybody that I'm talking to has read the book, including myself. And it's just an amazing reference point to come back to, right? That if you are in a certain shit, that you can at least resonate that you're not alone in that sense. Yeah. So
I would add also, Sven, I would add also the YC essay, Paul Graham, Sam Altman, and all the other partners in YC. They are extremely healthy. They're also short, so they're really well written and are really focusing on building good business, good for customer, good for employees, consequently for investors also, but really focus on product market fit. Doesn't like reject this external pressure of being the first one, of being bigger than your competitor, but really just focus in yourself on what is right, not what is popular.
Yeah. So do you keep a larger vision for yourself?
Yeah, I'm getting really passionate about entrepreneurship in the tech space. I admire every single founder, also the one that maybe didn't make it as big as they expected, as big. So I would like to keep being part of this community, like you are doing also. That's fantastic. And now I'm a founder with my also partner. But what's going to be next is going to keep helping the ecosystem.
Yeah.
Actually, as a founder, or maybe in other roles later on. Also, because if you want to be a founder, you need a lot of energy, as you know.
Yeah.
And
So
that's also correlated with age as well.
So don't you think that people are sometimes just overcomplicating the process? I mean, there's always this. I mean, running a startup is even so hip and happening that that Korea just launched a new drama. It's called Startup, and it's just most watched yesterday, trending on Twitter. And I was watching it with my girlfriend. It's really funny to see how they are positioning it. But you know, I just tend to believe that we are all making it more complicated than it is. I mean, like you just say, okay, product market fit, yes, very important. Customer discovery, yes, very important, right? But don't we just want to make something that just brings value to the world? And in order to bring something that brings value to the world, yeah, we of course need to listen, just like in a normal relationship. I mean, you're a husband. If you don't listen to your wife, you will get a divorce, right? So I think sometimes due to the business blogs out there, the YouTube things, you know, the whole charisma around it, it all gets almost frightening for some people to jump into that. But eventually it all comes down to, in my opinion at least, like common sense running a business. And that's also why I ask you, like, okay, what is your larger vision, right? Because if you're deciding on your larger vision, which is not only 3 years with your company, but if I would ask you, like, okay, what would happen in 10 years from now? Because you will start making different kind of decisions, right?
That's right. No, I agree. Launching startup is much easier now than it was 20 years ago.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes we don't realize we have all these tools. We have a lots of shared drives and communication. It didn't exist anything. The only thing that is blocking us, the ecosystem, is that the society is not educated about building startup and about failure. So how do you get educated to that building startup is normal. It might be painful, but lots of people do it and they're perfectly healthy and fine. And failing is part of success and you need to embrace it. I think that's something that founders, but especially investors, should really try to change in the community. Silicon Valley has this a lot, so it's really normal to launch. Something that will help is that more unicorn or more larger startup will come. People have experienced part of that journey and can live and build other, and so it will get better over time. But yes, it's really easy to launch. There is not really downside. With maybe a bit of money, but if you're smart, you can manage it in a certain way. You know, there's always people, as you always you teach us, there's always angel or some people that believe in you. They can give you a check of $25,000-$50,000, and that's enough to start.
Yeah,
it's pretty cheap to start a business. Now, for my vision is really Lifepal. So it's how do we make a really financial protection accessible to everyone, and that we will continue until everyone has the protection that they need. And then, of course, maybe later on is I really care about entrepreneurs because it's a tough journey, but it's exciting. So how do we help each other to feel it that is normal and is worth it to try.
Well, that's my why, right? I mean, it's very important because the answers are already out there. It's just having the right network around it. And one of the things that I always like to say is like, okay, a company will succeed because of two reasons, actually three. One, you're making something that is wanted. And two, you have access to a network of answers. And three is you have a network of cash, right? When you have these three major pillars, there should not be anything that could hold you. So is it true that Lifepal, because I was looking for some funding information, right? I mean, you haven't yet been funded, or you have just not disclosed it?
We haven't disclosed it.
Yeah.
Was premeditated choice to really stay low profile, heads down, close to customer. Don't get fancy with investor names and who's raising more. And that's it. Keep the team humble and really focus on what matter. That's why we did not disclose it. Likely we raise pretty decent amount from investors that they are relevant in our region, and we are really happy to have them. But we haven't disclosed. So we seed money actually.
Seed money. Yeah.
Revenue are growing a lot, so we are not burning that much. That's great. At one point we raised a Series A, but we still have revenue coming in. So we are fundraising from customer, not from investor.
Well, that's the best thing to do, I guess. And especially if you're in an insurance business, there's nice premiums to get, right?
Yeah, and good margin. And you know, after Lazada, I said I definitely not want to do something that has high margin and no delivery.
Yeah.
Insurance is exactly that. High margin is a digital product, so you don't really have to ship anything or deliver anything.
Yeah. So before we are closing down, I just want to share one thing that really touched me and really made an impact. I mean, something that we already know, but while I hear you talking, I think it's also very relevant for what you do. I was watching on Netflix the documentary of David Attenborough, the new documentary. I'm not sure if you Life on Earth. Have you already watched it?
I will do.
You should, 100%. So, I mean, in the first 5 or 10 minutes, the guy's 93 years old. And if you see him talking with so much emotion, again, his purpose, like we discussed in the podcast today, his why, he has really dedicated himself to the world. And because he's 93 years old, he knows he will most probably not be 10 years around. And if you don't have anything to do, by the way, after this podcast, go watch it because it's amazing. And it starts in two ways. The first is his witness testimonial, how he saw how the world, while he is alive, has been changing. And then he makes his, okay, what is the future actually going to do? And the fact is, this guy is not going to be there in the future. And he paints a very clear picture that if we're not doing anything, and with proofs, and you get goosebumps if you're watching it. I mean, our kids will live in a disastrous world, right? And I was so touched and moved with that I started writing already because of our network. What can we as entrepreneurs at least do? Because we have the people that work with us in our teams, but also we have people, through our clients, and especially for you, you're designing a product which is a life insurance product. So your customer lifetime value is significantly important for you, I guess. Right. So I'm just curious how, and it's difficult to have this conversation if you haven't really seen the movie yet, but what do you think we entrepreneurs should do to make the earth where we're living in a better place? Big question.
Yeah. I think we are in a lucky situation because we have the willingness to build as a category entrepreneurs, and we do have access to capital. There's a lots of money there, and the access is quite easy. Like you need to do the right things and be structured, but there is lots of money available, much more than in the 70s, in the 80s, and before that. So it's a really great time in the you see the category entrepreneurs as a journey. We are probably is the easiest time, is the best time. So I think we need to empower that, and it can be from entrepreneurial side, from the investor side. But we need to really empower this talent and these visions, and it's hard to predict really to have a structured framework, kind of build a business plan for this vision. It's more like let 100 flower blossom and then something good will come, right? And that's what we should do. Like really empower, like you're doing. You're really educating founders to take the risk, to find the money, and they really enable themselves, right? And that's I think what we should do. I don't have a more concrete answer because if you want, my mind is really on Lifepal.
Yeah. No, so I know. So
level that what I would say we that from this industry we should really enable and unlock this potential there.
No, I think and this is I think just as being an entrepreneur, gives you the freedom to build whatever you want, to design and structure your culture, your business, and the way you communicate with your clients, and in the best way you believe is right. You're bringing salary to your teams, and those teams and those fathers and mothers of kids again have the ability to teach their children in a certain way what's the right way to go to, right? So what I really would like to start as well is like, okay, it's like more like a movement, yeah, where you know, as an entrepreneur has an impact on this world, yes, through your life insurance product, but also by almost embracing that if we don't change something, yeah, in 100 years, the world looks differently. And that also comes sometimes close to what I think is wrong, but I think it's through a pressure of a lot of investors. I mean, the guy that can really make all of the difference, and that's typically also my last question for you in this podcast. The guy that can literally make all of the difference in this world in a heartbeat, but he's not doing it, is Mr. Mark Zuckerberg, because he could say, you know what? The whole week, I will not put any advertising online on Facebook and on Instagram. And the whole week is all about global awareness, about telling what we should do as people to make the world a better place to live in. And I'm not sincerely talking about all the racism and stuff, which is very sensitive. No, I'm talking about our environment, so we don't kill our environment, right? So my last question for you is, if you would have the opportunity to borrow the stick of Mark Zuckerberg for one day, and you could literally globally for one day publish a message, what would be your message to the world?
Big question.
Big
Hard to answer
question.
quickly. What
You
will be
know,
my message?
what would you like? What is your bigger message? You know, what would you have? You have the enter button there,
I do.
right?
Yeah,
And there's
no,
one thing.
it's pretty easy. Actually, it's what I do every day when I go to the office. And my goal as a leader is to help others to maximize their potential. And I think that will be the message. Like, don't waste time. I mean, get your holiday, get your maybe superficial relaxing. That's fantastic also. But try to really focus on maximizing your potential as an individual. This can give you one of the biggest source of joy that you can have, and can reflect on positive things. If I'm really attracted by the potential of humanity, like if you see those from Leonardo, maybe from Elon Musk today, Bill Gates, but you have these really normal humans, like regular humans, they actually have moved and improved the humanity. So how come there's such a big difference when we are born, we are almost the same, right? This is really about if everyone can maximize the potential and we bring everyone at the optimal status, then we can have much better things coming out from our society.
So I got your
I
point.
don't know what it will be. It could be environment. It could be education for women. We don't know that, but we need to let the talent blossom in that way. You cannot control that. You cannot dictate specific rules. That's the good thing will happen automatically, but you need to empower people to do great. And as a leader, that's what I do in Lifepal every day. Right? I have a guy that I believe in when we hire them, and how do I let them grow? Right?
So that would mean, if I would quote that on the last shot of the podcast, right? So I see you're ready behind the enter button, ready to distribute the message to 8.1 billion people. And it actually say, Giacomo Ficari, use your time wisely, maximize your potential.
That's right. That's right.
Right?
That's right.
Cool.
That's it.
Thank you very much for joining me today. I think there's a lot of golden nuggets from the things that we have been discussed, from interesting books. We have discussed the product market fit very well, the visions, very insightful. Is there anything that you want to share, what you think that I have been missing?
What I care a lot, and I see lots of friends making mistakes, is the product market fit. And I don't think Southeast Asia, we are educated enough, exposed enough to what does it mean. And I think if you are a leader that's trying to educate founder in the younger stage of the startup, that should be a really relevant topic. But I see you touch it, so I'm glad you did.
Cool.
I see that lots of our friends that maybe came to BC round, we always complain There is no money in Southeast Asia for Series B. But I always ask, how many startups got product market fit? They actually scaling a product. And there is no money as well, right? So I think let's be obsessed with product market fit, and then that can help a lot found new founders.
I mean, then you bring also value to the world, right? Otherwise, you're just emptying someone else's piggy bank. That's the story. Giacomo, thank you very much for joining me today. Super pleasure to have you. Yeah, definitely. And I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you guys for tuning in today at the Founders Tribe podcast. I truly hope you have found some inspiration and the golden nuggets so you can leverage this to lift your founders game. By the way, if you want to stay updated about our weekly releases, then please hit the subscribe button so you will never ever need to miss out and choose which one of the guests you can tune into. If you're planning to raise capital for your startup and would love to discover if you are fundraise ready, if your startup has what it takes, then please take our free signature fundraise quiz, where we will benchmark your answers against our 9-step Date Your Investor framework. As a result, you will receive a 20-page tailor-made recommendation report to be better tomorrow. Want to find out more? Go to www.thestartupchef.com www.thestartupchef.com. Thanks for listening, and I hope to see you in the next episode.